Hi everyone, it's Lauren and I have a little bit of a different video for you today. I really love theatre. I love going to the theatre to see plays, musicals, ballets, but I don't really talk about it that much on this channel. So I've been to see a few things recently that I really enjoyed and I wanted to talk about them somehow. So I don't know if this is going to be a series. If it is, I don't really know what I'm going to call it, but let's see how it goes. The first thing I wanted to talk about, which I saw quite a while ago now, was Northern Ballet's brand new production of Jane Eyre, which we were invited to go and see when it was at the Richmond Theatre, I think, in London. Northern Ballet specialise in brand new ballets adapted from literature. So previously they've done Wuthering Heights and The Great Gatsby, and their Jane Eyre production I was actually really impressed with. I wasn't sure how Jane Eyre would cope with being adapted into something which as an art form doesn't use language, and it's obviously a very complicated plot, but I think they did it very, very well considering it had to be fairly condensed. The music was very beautiful and dark and haunting, and I particularly liked Jane's pas de deux with Helen Burns, her friend when she's at school, and later on with Rochester. Their kind of power play and their dynamic was really lovely. Unfortunately, Jane Eyre is no longer touring in the UK, but Northern Ballet do have other productions going on all around the country. They are currently showing Wuthering Heights, and they'll be doing Beauty and the Beast. And we went to a launch a few months ago announcing what their brand new ballet is going to be, which is going to be Casanova. That's still in production and that will be touring next week. But we got to have a bit of a sneak preview of some of the dance styles and what the choreographers playing around with and working on at the moment, and it looked really interesting. And it's not a ballet that I expected them to announce that they were working on, actually, because it's not based on a work of fiction, it's based on the life of a real historical figure. But in order to develop the ballet, they have used a particular biography of Casanova's life. So I'm going to be really looking forward to seeing that when it comes to fruition. Along with ballet, one of my real true loves is musical theatre, and I've been to see a couple of things recently, but the thing that I have enjoyed the absolute most is Beautiful, which is on in London's West End at the moment, and that is based on the music and life of Carole King. I've seen this a couple of times now. I saw it for my birthday, and I also went and took my nan for her birthday because I'm nice like that. Took her to see something which I really wanted to see. But I really enjoy this production. It's a jukebox musical, but I think they do really well with it because Carole King has written so much music. She wrote a lot of stuff in the 60s with her husband, and it's all songs that you wouldn't even have realised were written by the same person. They wrote songs for the Drifters and the Chorales, as well as her own album Tapestry, which she then released in the 70s for the first time, singing her own songs. It's the story of her life and her journey from getting to be a teenager, writing little pop songs which then other people would sing, to the point where she's releasing her own album. But as a production, it is just so slick, and it's really nice to see something which looks visually really stunning. And there's obviously been money spent on the production, but also all of the cast are absolutely on the ball, particularly Cassidy Jansen, who's playing Carole King. Her voice is stunning, but she's also very funny, and she really brings a lot of heart and sympathy for Carole King as well. And even if you think this isn't the kind of music you would enjoy, I just think the production in itself, it takes you on such a journey. It's such a feel-good musical. At the end of it, you're just so happy. Like, my parents loved it when they went to see it. My nan loved it because she knew all of the songs. And when you're there, it actually almost feels like a pop concert. Everyone is just in such a good mood and really enjoying all of the music. And then finally, I went to see something really very different, but I thought it was fantastic and I really would recommend it, and that is the Threepenny Opera, which is on at the moment in the National Theatre in London, and it stars Rory Kinnear as Mac Heath, Mac the Knife. You've probably heard the song Mac the Knife. The Threepenny Opera is a really interesting play. It's definitely a play with music rather than a musical piece of theatre. It was written by Bertolt Brecht in Germany in the 1920s, in sort of Weimar Germany era, and it's a reimagining of the Beggars Opera, which was an English opera, a satirical comic opera from the 18th century, and Bertolt Brecht used that, reimagined it and updated it to give a comment on society. It's about the gangsters and criminal underworld of London. This production is a new translation, so it's really updated. It's sort of not in a single era, and everybody's costume quite subtly, but it looks like they're from different periods. But the language is definitely much more modern in terms of the slang and the insults that they're hurling at each other. What I loved about this is that I've not actually seen the Three-Pin Opera staged before, so it was new for me, although I am familiar with the Brechtian type of staging. And what was really interesting is that this is quite a sprawling plot about lots of different things, but the set and the costumes were kind of balanced between very, very minimal and looking like they've been thrown together by a troupe of players. They use a lot of brown paper which then gets ripped as people go through it, and wood and rope. But then at the same time, there's a very high level of attention to detail. And it really is as grotesque as it is. I mean, I found it really hilarious, but it's a very strange thing for me to recommend you to go to see. And it's an odd thing to say that you enjoyed, particularly the music. I mean, the idea of these songs are that they are political and they're not supposed to sound nice. People aren't really supposed to be singing them very well. The cast are good at singing, so that's fine. But that's not really the point of it. It's not meant to be beautiful. There's not meant to be a moral. It's almost like a parable or a morality tale, but more like immorality tale really, because Mac the Knife doesn't get his comeuppance at the end and everything's okay. But through that, it's able to make a comment on society, a comment on corruption, and it's just really interesting seeing the view of this play, seeing a modern adaptation of this play. And Rory Kinnear is just fantastic as Mac the Knife, as is the whole cast. And I would really recommend, if you're around London looking into seeing this production, if you're interested in theatre and the history behind different theatrical styles, then this is a really, really interesting one to watch. So those are the productions I really wanted to talk about today. Let me know if you like this style of video, if you're interested in me talking about live performance. It's a bit more difficult because it's such a localised thing, and I can only really talk about productions that I can go and see in London or in the UK, and that's an aspect of making videos like this which I'm a bit unsure of, because if you're not in the UK then it's not really very helpful me talking about what I'm going to see. But do let me know what your thoughts are. I might do some more videos like this if I feel that the format's working, so let me know what you thought and I will see you in my next video. Bye! I've got a Spanish one, which is Emilio Pardo Bazan, The House of Ulloa. I think that's how that's pronounced, which is a comic gothic novel apparently about an old crumbling house. Hadn't heard of this before. I also got one of the Italian titles, which is The Betrothed by Alessandro Massoni.